So after the interview with Mr. GM and Scotty J, they recently announced that tanks and healers were going to be getting incentives with the new boxes at the end of dungeons. These are things that they said you cannot get solo, you need to be in a group. They have their own metrics, which we don't really know just yet. But they have the potential to really change how the game is played early on and what that might do to the economy. So, as you can see here, my face might be blocking a little bit of it, but essentially you can get different battle and guardian elixirs, whatever. You can get some different scrolls, food, potions, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. But you're going to be getting these every single dungeon. So while leveling, you are going to always have consumes, like all the time, if you level through dungeons. But here is where it becomes, I wouldn't necessarily say problematic, but it will make a pretty drastic change early on within the expansion. And that is these chests. And we tested this by running multiple heroics and confirmed every single heroic on the beta, which is, as always, subject to change. These drop. And in these chests, you get guaranteed 5 mana, 5 health, and a random flask, 2 of them. You will always get 2 flasks, and they will be 2 of the same flask, randomly. You will get 5 of these scrolls, and then you have a chance at pets or mounts or whatever. But these flasks are a pretty big deal to be able to get early. They require a Frost Lotus to craft, which is one of the more, basically your like Fel Lotus, your Black Lotus. If you've played, you know these things are fucking expensive. But now that you can get them for free every single dungeon, they said they wanted to do this so tanks and healers could basically pay for their own raid consumes by just running content. And they fucking did it with these. So this is going to drastically change kind of how consumables are going to be used early on, because you're going to be able to use a ton of consumes, right? But the main problem comes down to, or the difference could come down to, is because you don't need to fucking craft these flasks anymore. You can literally just randomly farm them in heroics. Also, just to note, there's 2 boxes you get. One for a tank, one for a healer. DPS don't get any. Only for tanks and healers based on whatever their metrics are. I think there's 12 heroics out on release for Wrath. So you can get, between you and the healer, 24 or 48 flasks a day. If you do a world tour, if you do all the heroics, between you and the healer of your group, 48 flasks a day. If you're in a very large server, you could safely say you have, 50 random heroic groups that are probably doing all the heroics near the start of the expansion. Alright, well 50 times 48, Shazamo! 2,400 flasks are being put into the server economy probably by day 3 or 4, a week before the raid even comes out. So let's say you have, let's give it a little more conservative. Let's say even 4 days of farming. 10,000 flasks in a single server before the raid even comes out, and you don't even need to craft them. That's insane. But so how does this change the economy, potentially? Well, with Inscription comes one of the best trinkets you can get in the game, especially early on, Dark Moon Card Greatness. There's plenty of videos about it, everybody knows about it. It's a really fucking good trinket. It's something you'll use into Ulduar, and if you're unlucky, even past Ulduar, into Trial of the Grand Crusader. So people are going to want this fucking thing. And now all of the consumables that are going to be mana potions, health potions, and flasks, all of them are going to be spent crafting these potions, crafting these flasks. They're going to be spent on milling for ink to turn into cards for more greatness. Because there's only so much material on the server at any given time, right? And if you don't need it for this, you'll use it for the other thing. So Inscription's looking like the potential to be big money early on with the amount of materials you're going to have to use to craft these cards. Alchemists still have some value, however, in it looks like indestructible potions, so the armor potions, haste potions, crit potions, any kind of potion that you'll be using or want to be using in a raid, or any more, I guess, effective content, I guess you could say. Anytime you want to use a potion, do big damn, right? Those are not in these, so it's not taking away all of the value from Alchemists. Alchemists also have to transmute the meta gems, which are then cut by JCs, so there's still some value there, but without flasks and this many flasks, it is certainly going to be a lot less valuable of a profession going forward, which is something to consider, even though this is pretty fucking new information as far as like a couple days from launch. They might change this because the biggest bottleneck in terms of flasks is the Frost Lotus, because you do get them by just gathering, right? But this could pretty significantly change how it works early on. Later on, let's say we're in Old War, we're in TOGC, people are going to go, oh, hey, I'd level the DPS, you want to come do some heroics with me? Instead of saying, fuck no, when you're sitting in full Nax 25 bis or whatever. Instead of that, they're like, oh, well, I can get some flasks for the week. I can get some consumes, some potions, some whatever. And they'll come and help you out. They'll do heroics. You'll be able to get 10-man Nax loot. I'll do another video kind of talking about what Heroic Plus is kind of supposed to be and what that'll mean for loot. So I think that's also kind of important mainly for alts. At the first point, I'll talk about it in that. But basically, it will provide tanks and healers an easy way to provide themselves consumes, and even DPS looking to farm their own consumes. If they have a tank or healer off spec, they can go heal or tank dungeons or whatever, and then farm these flasks themselves to use in raid for their DPS set. So, in the short, early term, it's going to negatively impact the economy for sure. But in the long term, it is going to be, I think, something a little more beneficial, because the entire intent of this is, hey, when the tanks and healers are bissed out and they don't feel like running goddamn anything, the only guys you're getting in dungeons are people who have no fucking gear and want the dungeon gear. So now we can bring back those guys who are bissed out to help out, get some runs through, level up people's alts, help people that are newer coming into the game, It's a good idea. We'll see how it all pans out, but if you're trying to keep your eye on economy stuff or what you're trying to do, then definitely this is a pretty big one, especially early on. So, there's the info for you. Have a good one. Peace.